Hey guys, Tony here, back once again to do a recent vinyl editions video. As promised, I have lots of really good stuff to show, um, but I'm going to attempt to do a really quick one here, quick for me. And so I picked out 20 records. I'm going to just try and run through them quick. I have a lot of stuff to show, which even after this I have a bunch. So I tried to just pick out a nice little mix here, my usual stuff, jazz and rock, prog, psych, and a couple soul things thrown in as well. Um, so yeah. Okay, I'm gonna get started. I'm gonna start with the only sort of new record here, new music, I should say, from this year, 2015. I pretty much picked this up when it came out, and I like it a lot. Um, and it's Falaka Soit with Falaka Soit 3. Chilean, sort of space rock, krautrock, long experimental sort of psychedelic tracks that's often called Chilean krautrock. Space rock, very repetitive, has that sort of motoric beat usually. Now again, I like this a lot. I like listening to it. Um, Compared to their second album, which there's been some confusion, I guess, over if this is actually their third album or their second one. They do have a first album, but it was only released in Chile um, on CD only. I don't think it ever saw a US or UK release, as far as I know. So a lot of people think this is their second album. They called it third for a reason, but on Sacred Bones. But like compared to their second one, they're not really doing anything different. So it's like, that being said, I still enjoy it. It's still really good. I don't know if they could get away with it another time, but I guess that remains to be seen. Falaka Soit with third or three on Sacred Bones from this year. Really good. I like it quite a bit. Pulsing, eruptive, drone-centered jams. Yeah, the third LP by Chilean Psych band. I read some reviews where they were like, no, this is actually their second album. It's like, no, it's their third. Anyway, moving on. Here's an album I've wanted for a while. I've had the reissue for quite a while, and a band I actually just saw. I just saw them like a few weeks ago. But that's Dinosaur Jr. with their debut and original, or at least a very, very early pressing. Before they were Dinosaur Jr., they were just Dinosaur. Before they had to change their name for legal reasons, but from 1985 on Homestead Records, and found this locally. It's in beautiful shape. If you don't know Dinosaur Jr., I mean, you should. They're, sort of an indie rock band, alternative rock band. They have their own sort of unique sound, especially for the time, 1985. Just imagine Neil Young, Crazy Horse, crossed with Black Sabbath, with a sort of hardcore punk slight edge thrown in. This album is varied. It's like they were playing all these different styles at this point, and by their next album, they had successfully blended all those styles together. But yeah, really happy to find this. Not that it's a super rare record. It didn't sell well when it came out, but still, you can still get it, So yeah, Dinosaur Jr. And I just saw them. They opened for Primus. It was Dinosaur Jr. and Primus, and it was a good show. Jay Mascis, they're loud, but I felt like Jay Mascis' guitar was a little too overpowering, for the bass and drums. But other than that, it was good. I didn't get to see the whole set. I saw probably about half of it, and it was good. It was a good show. Primus were excellent. Yeah. Anyway, moving on to sort of soul records, both from 1971, I believe. The first one is a fantastic sort of folk rock, soul, funk sort of thing, maybe a little bit of psych thrown in. Absolute killer record, and that's Barbara and Ernie with Prelude 2 from 1971 on Cotillion Records. Absolutely fantastic. Obscure, I mean, this came out, it probably didn't sell for anything. It's one of those albums that you could much easier find a promo copy than an actual stock regular copy, which kind of People tried tearing the stickers off it, which sucks. But other than that, it's in beautiful shape. So it's check out the opening track, "Play with Fire." It's not the Stones song, so and they also do "Somebody to Love," the the Jefferson Airplane or Darby Slick tune. Great Society did it as well. Everybody knows the song, so it's a good one. But all of it is fantastic. Now, Barbara Macy and Ernie, I forget his last name. Ernie, I don't know if it's actually Ernie Calabria. He's a guitar player. They're both sort of session musicians. She sang background on Jimi Hendrix albums and like Herbie Hancock, and a few other people. He's a session guitar player. He played with like, I forget actually who he played with, like Harry Belafonte, people like that, But this is an excellent record, and I highly recommend it. Yeah, from 1971 on Cotillion. Check it out. And also from, I believe, 1971, the solo debut record by, this is a classic, Minnie Riperton, "Come to My Garden." Now, this is just a beautiful, beautiful soul record. She's playing with, I believe, the Ramsey Lewis group, and the arrangements were all done by Charles Stepney, and it's just gorgeous. It really is. Not cheesy at all. Her later albums got a bit cheesy, but yeah, just excellent soul. A bit funky at times. It's just an incredible record, and an original press on GRT. There's another pressing out on, I forget the label. That's a reissue from either that year or the next year or something. But I would have grabbed either one of them. This was just so hard to find, and it's in good shape. Other than like somebody wrote on the label, but other than that, it's pristine. It's just a fantastic record. So Minnie Riperton, she died really young, I believe, from cancer, and of course she was in the Rotary Connection. But yeah, excellent record. This next one's a comp, and while I have nothing against comps, I don't pick up a lot. I mean, but this is the sort of comp you don't leave behind. It was still sealed. Now, it's a compilation of artists on the International Artist label. As you may know, the International Artist label is the Texas label, primarily known as putting out Texas Psych albums, 13-foot elevators, and that's what this is. This came out in 1980. It was after the International Artist label had already closed down, so whoever acquired the rights to all that stuff put this out, from what I understand. And it was still sealed from 1980, I want to say. So, Epitaph for a Legend, the International Artist label. So yeah, it has people like, it's an incredible comp. It's 2 LPs, and yeah, you see the cover. It's like this graveyard, like opens up like that, and it just has the band names. Not all of them though. All right, so it has like Lightning Hopkins on here, 13th Floor Elevators, The Golden Dawn. A lot of these bands I'd never heard of before. Lost and Found, Red Crayola, of course. Who else? Dave Allen, not the Gong Dave Allen, a different Dave Allen. Bubble Puppy, which incredible. Who else? A lot I didn't know. The Cheyennes, The Patterns, Thursday's Children, The Electric Rubaiyat, which was really good. The Electric Rubaiyat, they do If I Was a Carpenter, Sonny Hall, Inner Scene, and then they have like a bunch of songs by the Red Crayola, and a bunch by 13-Foot Elevators, a few by Lightning Hopkins, one by Big Walter. It's just a fantastic compilation of mostly psych and blues, and highly recommended if you see it. And yeah, this was still sealed. Next one, a UK sort of progressive psych folk LP, and I was turned on to this by a local seller who has just an awesome psych collection. That he has an original of this, and I was at his place and he played it for me. And as you know, like a lot of those original UK sort of psych folk records are just incredible money, and this is a reissue, and the reissue itself was kind of hard to find, but I got it for a normal price, so I was happy about that. And that's Synesthesia synesthesia. So that word, I believe, means like sort of like being able to see music or see colors in the music and hear color and something like that. Probably related in this case to the psychedelic experience. Other than that, maybe just a mental disorder. But that's a mouthful for a band. You know, they were a UK group trio. They're kind of, you know, they compared to like the Incredible String Band or Comus or like Doctor Strangely Strange, things like that. They're not so weird like Comus is, but they're a progressive folk, psych folk trio, heavily influenced by jazz. Like one of the players is plays sax and flute, and I absolutely love this record. It's just really damn good. Good songs, very melodic. It's catchy, but still interesting, you know. So yeah, I recommend it. And this is a Sunbeam reissue. Came out some years ago. Not quite sure, but originals will cost you, you know, like probably over $300. Probably more like a $500 record on the RCA label. But yeah, Synesthesia, excellent. Here's another one I've wanted for a while, and probably more well known for being on the Vertigo label. Vertigo copies are much more expensive than the U.S. copy on Paramount, but this is May Blitz, an original on Paramount. Which I scored this at a record show for under $20. He had it marked for 20. I bought a couple things, and you know, I marked it down a little bit. Haggled with the guy a little bit, but yeah, an original on Paramount, in beautiful shape. So if you don't know this band, they're sort of a power trio. They're called Prog, and they're probably more like Cream crossed with Black Sabbath, sort of. Maybe with a little bit of like Procol Harum thrown in at times, you know, that sort of thing. But this is just an awesome album. I'm telling you, check it out. If you like that sort of thing, play it loud. It's awesome. May Blitz. Yeah. I have their second album on reissue, 2nd of May, so glad to get an original US of, excuse me, their debut. Going from that to a sort of a really strange album that I really got to be in the mood to listen to. It's just one of those. It's German. I'm not really krautrock. I mean, if in a way, sort of second generation. This guy grew up listening to like Asherah Temple and Tangerine Dream. That's Peter Fromander. Peter Fromander. However the hell you say it. I'm sure I'm just gonna slaughter everything about this album in pronunciation. Necropolis with Coltnes de Gules. Yeah, from 1985. Self-released Necropolis. Progressive electronic. Very sort of dark gothic, very spatial. Avant-garde, you know. I like it, but I definitely got to be in the mood for it. And yeah, recorded in 1984, released in 1985. The subtitle is The Ballet of Death. And yeah, it's an original, scored locally. There's a local Prog dealer, a huge collection of Prog, and sort of getting up there in age and selling all of it off. And I picked up a few pieces through him, and then he sold a lot of them to Red Scroll, and I bought them from them, and so things like that. I've acquired a few. This is one of them. Yeah, happy to have an interesting album. Going from that, and speaking of Asherah Temple, Asherah with Correlation, an original pressing of this, and just what a horrible album cover, just one of the worst, but it's a good album. It's really good, actually. Not quite so psychedelic and spacey, and veering a little bit more towards the synth pop sort of thing. Manuel Goching, of course, and features Harold Grosskopf on this. Just a really good album, like, you know, check it out. On Virgin Records. I believe it's a German or UK pressing. Probably UK. But anyway, Asherah is post Asherah Temple project band. Yeah, Correlations. That one's from 1979. And going from that to French Prog, related to Heldon. This guy was a member of Heldon. This is a solo album with Georges Grunblatt, with K. Priss, an original on Polydor. I've had this for a while as well. Beautiful copy of that. So yeah, it's French electronic prog rock, a bit cheesy at times. You know, there's some moments that are like just like kind of cheesy, but it's still like, I don't know, sort of charming in a way. I just like the album. Um, there's some really excellent moments on here as well. It's a good album, and I'm glad to get it. Love that cover. Let's take it out. So yeah, he was a member of Haldon, and features a few members of Haldon on here, as well as the guitarist from the band Vedorji. From, what was this, 1980? 1980. Yeah, an original French press on Polydor. There's the back. Happy to have it. Moving now away from, slightly moving away from prog and into jazz. So with that, Soft Machine 5, their first album without Robert Wyatt. So they're definitely moving towards more of the jazz fusion sound, but still features most of the, Elton Dean, Hugh Hopper, Mike Rutledge, John Marshall on here. I believe Robert Wyatt's replacement was Phil Howard from 1972, original U.S. press. So it's black cover, of course, gets wear. It's a nice copy, not bad. It was cheap, and yeah, happy to have it. Soft Machine. Now here's a reissue that I'm sure a lot of people have shown. I pre-ordered it, and it's fantastic. I got a few pieces by this artist that I'll show in later videos. Like I said, I got a lot of stuff to show. I also have a few international artist pieces to show at some point as well. Anyway, with Hum Dono, Joe Harriet, and Amencio de Silva. So they're sort of co-leaders on this. Recorded in 1969. Joe Harriet, of course, sort of known, I don't know, as sort of the English Ornette Coleman, in that he was going in the free jazz direction, kind of at the same time, but in England, But yeah, it's from 1969, and this is just a fantastic, beautiful album, very subtle at times, and everything about it I just love. It's just a killer record. Features Norma Winstone on vocals, and Ian Carr makes an appearance on here on flugelhorn. Ian Carr, of course, from Nucleus. But yeah, originals of this are just incredibly rare and very expensive when they do come up. So nice that they reissued it. It's a really nice reissue, and yeah, I highly recommend it. Joe Harriet with Amencio de Silva Quartet. Hum Dono. Killer. And this one I gotta thank Tom. Tom's channel is FX 420. I'll put a link to his channel. Tom lives sort of nearby me, and we've met up and sort of traded records. And this is he left this for me. I didn't get to see him. He left it for me at Red Scroll, and I grabbed it. So thank you, Tom. I know I've thanked you already, but he actually found 2 copies of this in Goodwill, which is incredible to me. But that's Clifford Jordan with Soul Fountain, an original of this on the Vortex label. So Vortex was Atlantic, a subsidiary of Atlantic. They didn't put out a ton of stuff, maybe 10, less than 20 albums. But yeah, Clifford Jordan, sax player. That's him there. Maybe on the, I can't remember if it was, I think it was Black Jazz he put on an album. I don't think he was on Strata East. I think it was Black Jazz. But anyway, this was actually recorded in 1966 and not released until 1970. So it's definitely very early sort of soul jazz, but it's still excellent. It varies at times. Like, there's some really like funky tracks with some great grooves on it, and then there's some sort of standard keyboard heavy soul jazz. But all in all, this is a great album. So happy to have it. Thank you, Tom. I really appreciate it. Really happy to add this to the collection. So going from that, and another one I got to thank Chris, John Coltrane. He pointed out this was on sale on eBay, I believe, or maybe it was even, Discogs, and it was really cheap, so I grabbed it. And that's Stafford James with his Jazz A Confronto, the Italian label, the Horo label, but his release on that series, which is number 26, fantastic jazz. I mean, I guess you call it free jazz, but it's not like total out improvisation. It is improvisation, but it's not like it's very easy to listen to. It's fantastic. Stafford James, of course, the bass player, and he just kills on here. Really does. The opening track, um, he just plays. He just sort of plays this bass line, and the other members sort of play over it, and it's just incredible. Anyway, I believe it's the only song from this on YouTube. Anyway, yeah, but features a great lineup. Enrique Rava, trumpet player, Dave Burrell, of course, on piano, and Beaver Harris on drums. And yeah, excellent record. So thank you, Chris. It was quite a while ago that I bought this, so. But Chris, if you watched, excellent, thank you. And here's one, and I believe speaking of Tom, he actually showed this in his last video, but I picked this up a while ago as well. But Sun Ra, and Sun Ra and his orchestra with Pictures of Infinity on Black Lion. Excellent Sun Ra record. Pretty standard sort of Sun Ra fare for Sun Ra, I mean, it opens up with some really just everybody sort of blowing, and then it sort of goes into a long sort of percussion piece, and then, there's some more later on. There's like modal pieces and off-kilter solos and on keyboards by Sun Ra and killer sax solos. And it's just a good Sun Ra record. I mean, it has a few standards, like Somewhere There's a sort of free piece, Outer Spaceways Incorporated, which this was re-released under that name as well, I believe. And then side 2, Saturn, Song of the Despair, and Spontaneous Simplicity. So, yeah, an original on Black Lion. Excellent. Here's one I don't believe I've shown before, but I've had this for a while as well. And that's the Horace Tapscott with the Pan-African People's Orchestra. Killer record. I mean, it just doesn't get much better than this on the Nimbus West label. Yeah, just beautiful. So, like, big band here, sort of a cross between, avant-garde jazz and post-bop, sort of somewhere in between there. Very soulful, very just spiritual, and really damn good. And I got this, it was still sealed. Horace Tapscott, just genius. I wish there was a lot more of his stuff out there with playing with bands and stuff, but there's some. Anyway, happy to have that. Anything from the Nimbus label. Moving on. Here's something. Last couple. Found locally, and goddamn, I'm so happy to have this. Yeah, I mean, it's a classic album. An original from 1963, mono pressing of, in beautiful shape too, of The Black Saint and the Sinner Lady. Yeah, first press. I mean, really happy to have this. Classic. One of probably the greatest albums ever. If not Mingus's best album. Probably this and Hum, probably considered his best records, but in just gorgeous shape. I got this at Red Scroll for a great price. Goes for a lot more. And yeah, a nice original. So, very happy to have this, man. I had a later pressing. It was still an impulse pressing, but I sold it after I got this, so yeah, just a killer record. Written as one long sort of piece, sort of like a ballet, like in like 6 movements, I believe, or maybe 4 movements, and it's broken up into like 6 tracks. But anyway, yeah, really happy to have that. Here's one I got pretty recently. That's Jack DeJohnette with Sorcery. Another really interesting album. I've wanted this one for quite a while, and it's excellent. Again, varied. There's some sort of like jazz fusion, like jazz rock at times. One track even almost reminds me of the Grateful Dead at times. It's like some are more Miles Davis, Electric Miles sort of inspired stuff. Some more just out free. Some more soulful stuff. Now, this features a number of players that who's on here? Benny Maupin, John Abercrombie, Dave Holland, Jack DeJohnette, of course. So most of these guys went on to form Gateway for ECM, and they sort of do this kind of the same thing on ECM later on. But some of this was recorded in Jack DeJohnette's home studio. They got mixed reviews when it came out, but I think it's excellent. And yeah, it's a white label promo. Really happy to have this finally. Another one sort of just difficult to find, but glad to have it. Finally, another one that's, again, not like super expensive. I actually got this for really cheap, but just doesn't pop up that often. And it's just, hands down, one of my favorite jazz records. It is just that good. Spiritual, modal, with Latin feel at times. Funky, you know, just incredible. And that's Joe Henderson with The Elements. Gorgeous copy of this. Features Alice Coltrane, Michael White, Charlie Hayden, and who else? Anyway, so 4 tracks, all broken up the elements. So you got fire, air, water, earth, but just incredible. Very sort of catchy at times too, like the melodies. But there's just great group interplay. Just one of those albums, it's just something special. It really is, and I'm glad to have it on Milestone, original. Excellent. So those are my finds for now, guys. Lots more to come. Leave me comments, and thank you for watching. I appreciate it. See you soon.